So this is day 6, and we're going to be talking about physical mastery and what does that even mean? Well, you'll find out. But I think what is interesting about today's episode is it really highlights the different approaches that myself and Ray take in business, in life, and just the way we analyze things. And I'd like you to think about which one are you? Are you more Don or are you more Ray? And there's no right or wrong. Remember, it's just we have to start being aware of who we are, how we go about things, so that you can appreciate your strength and appreciate others' strength at the same time. And actually, life starts to become amazing when you can start to see it that way. So we hope you really grasp what physical mastery means, so that it really gives you different ways to analyze things to make sure that you are taking the right approach when sometimes you just feel stuck. I hope you enjoy the episode as much as we did.
There, it's almost like you're out of focus on the.
Maybe it's the lighting. So welcome back to the Identity Human podcast with your hosts, Don and
Ray.
Thank you very much for
Ray.
Thank you very much for coming back and tuning in. We appreciate you. We're very grateful that you're giving us your special time, especially around Christmas with our 12 episodes. But hopefully we're adding loads of value. And we are now on the third part of our mastery series, which is 3 or 4. And today's one is around. That's me pointing to you, Ray.
Physical mastery.
Yes.
Just go out and do it.
Yes, this is probably your favorite one.
Yeah, I like to just crack on and do it.
Ray is the action taker.
Mastery
yeah.
Is let's just get our hands dirty, get it done, and that's how we develop true mastery. It's my default one, definitely.
That's how we do part of developing true mastery.
Yes, yeah, I know it's part of, but it's my default go-to. I'm just going to get my hands dirty, get it done.
Yeah, and so that is it. That's important. So we're defining, and it's practice is the third part of mastery, but it's almost how you'd say intentional practice. So it's not just going out and doing everything. It's going out and doing something specific to gain knowledge of or experience of or emotional mastery of something that you're trying to improve.
So it's like we've, in the previous 2 episodes, we've spoken about the cognitive mastery. Then we spoke about recognizing, making a conscious effort to recognize where you've had emotional experience and you've actually developed that emotional mastery. So now we're looking at where physical mastery fits into that, because I think a lot of people do default to physical mastery, but it's important to understand.
I would say, well, maybe you would.
And
I'd say you would. So this is interesting, bringing personality styles in again.
Yeah.
You would default to physical mastery. I would default to cognitive mastery.
And maybe someone, a high responder, which ignore that. That's a terminology from R3. Might default to a lot of their experiences is very emotive. They'll focus on the emotional experiences. Perhaps, maybe.
Perhaps. They poke on how the emotional consequences. So
yeah, they'll be very focused on the emotion. So, but I think it's very much for me. I've always defaulted to physical mastery, but it's so the previous 2 episodes for me really layer in are you focusing on those other areas too?
Yeah, and we're now trying to raise awareness with this, because you will have let's say, for example, when you built the business, you would have just built the steps, right? You would have taken action. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. You won't necessarily put time into how you're feeling in that. What are the emotional consequences of what I'm doing? Is there burnout? Is there anxiety? You just would have got to a point where those come up, or you would have got to the success without necessarily thinking about the emotions of it. You wouldn't have read, say at the beginning, maybe you didn't read any books because you're like, I know what I'm doing. I'm just going to, so where you initially started your accounting business, it was about the gamification of it. And I don't know how much cognitive knowledge you went after, but your preference was, I'm going to go there, I'm going to get this, I'm going to do one course, I'm going to do the things in that course, I'm going to do. Right? So,
but I had spent 5 years getting a whole lot of cognitive mastery.
Yes. So, but not in the specific way of your business. Yes. Does that make sense? Yes. So that is a good example. Is you had the cognitive mastery with your master's, with your degree. So you had all of that, but you lacked the physical, you lacked the emotional.
Yes.
And that's where you had to take action on that. So reflecting back now, and this is where the 4th one would come in as reflection, is being able to tie that all in together. And sometimes we get frustrated because we're trying to get a mastery because we've got mastery in one area, but actually you don't. So how are we making sure that we're getting that intentional practice in that's right? Because you can take action, and actually I would much prefer to err on the side of taking action than not taking action, even if it's the wrong action, because you'll only find out if it's the wrong action by taking action.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
And the thing is, a lot of people, if someone is leaning into their cognitive mastery and they're reading loads of books on something, you may have heard of like, I've read it often, like people just get stuck in this, like they get like addicted to the
learning.
The learning. They're like, oh wow, that's cool. Oh wow, like those revelations, and they get like addicted to like reading the books and accumulating the knowledge, and they forget about the doing. So today's episode is really about like, if you aren't naturally someone who does the doing and naturally leans into the physical mastery, it's awesome that you have worked and you naturally lean into maybe the cognitive mastery, but you must remember that the actual doing, and that's to your point, is so much more important. Not so much more important, say that's wrong. It's so important to do. And some people get caught in this loop of like, they don't know what to do, so they just talk themselves out of it. So your point is very much like, rather do something than nothing at all.
And it's fascinating. What came to me just as you're talking is, there's probably going to be someone that's getting really bored of this, so stop.
Because I do it anyway.
Because you do it anyway.
So
physical stuff.
Move on from this episode.
That is an example of when I said in the previous one, be aware of how you feel when you're listening to things. If you're trying to get something that is against your confirmation bias, or like, listen to all of these. Because if this episode bores you, you're the action taker, but you may be missing some cognitive mastery in what you're doing. And you may be missing some emotive mastery in what you're doing. Why are you smiling?
I'm smiling because I read Don's got like a few bullet points on each episode, and there he has performance versus recovery. So talking to those people who are bored of this episode, like I just want to crack on, I think there is the other extreme, which I often get caught in, where you are so naturally a doer and the physical mastery that you just go, and you actually don't give, there's performance versus recovery. You don't give yourself time to recover. So it's like those people who are addicted to learning and constantly reading books. On the physical mastery side, you can become just so into doing and learning through doing that you actually don't give yourself those breaks. So that's a really important point.
Hi guys, I'm going to quickly interrupt this because if you are bored, if you are the over-actioning action taker and you want to learn how to rest and recover, then the challenge is a good place to learn. And if you're the other type that likes to learn too much and not take enough action, then the challenge is exactly what you need. So like you're here, like I got your attention, while you're here and I got your attention, go to www.identityhuman.com, sign up for the challenge. It's free. Let's get going. Let's make sure that we hit the ground running come 2025 and all the way up to 2030. You know, back to the episode. Yeah.
And I've had to learn over the last few years and I'm still
at my peril too, because I've been like, slow down, you got to stop this. And she's like, no, we got to take action. And I'm like, so I've learned to take more action. But I was probably on the other end of the extreme, whereas I love learning more about things, but I naturally get practice of it because I just interact with people, whether it's personal, whether it's business, all that kind of stuff. And you even had a conversation with a guy in America. It's like, Don's that guy that will start talking personality types to friends and to me. And he has had to learn to like curb that because that's and that's sometimes funny, is like the way you get your emotional and your physical mastery is by putting into action the things that you love reading about. But let's say, for example, you've read 15 books about business and haven't actually started your business. That's a point where you've got to realize you've got the cognitive mastery and you may have everything you need. So start taking action.
And so I suppose today's episode, we spoke about before we started recording, what should the challenge be today? But that challenge was very much for those people who are stuck in the cognitive mastery and not taking the action. But there might be actually a totally different challenge that we set today for those people who are more like me. So we almost need to set two different challenges. Are you the constant action taker, never giving yourself a break? Or are you the person who just resists taking the action because you feel like you need to know more before you take action? So there'll be two slightly different challenges.
So that's the perform versus recovery one.
Yeah.
Is if you're the action taker,
so
set
move
time
on
for
to the
recovery.
challenge. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll move on to the challenge. No, we don't need to have a long episode just for the sake of it. Is the challenge is going to be, if you're the action taker, recover. So it's okay to spend a week not taking actions on everything, because that's going to link into the next episode of Reflection.
And so I would like to talk for a few minutes.
Speak to your people.
Speak to my people. Speak for us checking this is recording. Speak for like a minute around this. What we are trying to do in each of these episodes is to, around the 12 days of Christmas, is to give you possibly like a little journal prompt each day, like say you can write down. So we will highlight at the beginning of these 12 days to make sure that you've maybe start a fresh book. So you can start to write down your thoughts as you move through these episodes. And for today, what I think would be really useful for people like me who are just like amazing at, I'm not amazing, but like you go, and you're good
You're
at
pretty, I mean, you're pretty good.
The cognitive, the physical mastery. Sorry.
We actually had a unintentional comparison as to how good you are at taking action with that course. You've literally pretty much finished the whole thing. I'm probably still on module 1.
So for those people like me who just like to get their hands dirty and just do the doing,
flow down the river,
what I would suggest doing is when you open up your book today to journal on, or just write down your thoughts from this episode, like my challenge to you is to sit down and actually ask yourself the question, like reflect on 2024 as a year and ask yourself, have you given yourself enough time to rest and recover? Have you maybe felt burnt out in the year or overwhelmed? And look for some patterns in your behavior throughout the year and just really reflect, and then reflect on how you want your 2025 to look. Because if you look at true peak performance, recovery and rest, so true rest where you're resting your mind and your body, is actually a huge part of your performance in the long run, and something that I've really had to remind myself of. So just really look at that. Look at how your 2024 mapped out. And is that how you want your 2025 to go? Because you probably haven't performed at your best all the time because you haven't given yourself enough time to recover. What would you add to that?
Well, everyone's going to have some resistances, but you have to protect your recovery time. So for example, I've got an auto email that auto reply on all my emails.
Oh, yes.
Every single day says, hi, thanks for your email. I normally get back to my emails Monday and Friday. If you have anything urgent, just give me a call midweek, which gives me the time that I know on a Tuesday, if I have nothing on, I won't even look at my emails to reply because I've already told you I'm not replying.
Yeah.
And if I do happen to reply, that's on me. So it's about how you're setting that intention to recover as an action taker. Because especially say within business or even WhatsApps, is we always think like that's a part of action. It's like take action. But actually you need to be able to put aside time to recover.
So yeah, like my third prompt then would be, what's a boundary you could put in place for yourself or for others that's going to give you a bit more recovery and recuperation time? So a boundary could be a bedtime for you, a time that you promise yourself you're going to stop working in 2025 or whatever that may be. Develop a boundary. And then for
my people, take action. So it doesn't matter if it's not perfect. It doesn't matter if it's not the best action you can take. In a year's time, no one's going to remember the action you took, even if it messes up. So your best example is if you're trying to think about posting on social media, watch how much time and effort you've put into thinking about, is this going to get likes or not? And then 6 months later, reflect and go, do you even remember how many likes that got? Now, how many other people do you think got that? They're not going to. So take action because that's the best way to learn. And if you can't do that, find a way. Find a troubleshoot. Find your action takers that don't overthink things, and not overthink because I don't think it's a bad trait. It's just part of, and just balance it out.
Yeah.
So
for today, for Don's people, either take an action today. So go and post that, go and practice the guitar, go and do the thing you've been promising yourself you're going to do. If your circumstances, because you're on holiday, do not allow, then on your piece of paper, write down what you're going to do and by what date, and it needs to be within the next few weeks. So there should be no excuse.
And by the way, if you don't practice taking the small actions, you definitely won't take those big actions that have more responsibility and consequences. So practice taking the small ones, trust me. Okay, remember, it's the end of the episode. Ubuntu, we are who we are to others. I'll look after me for you if you look after you for me. All right, have a great day.